Hi guys, Mike here. Hope you're doing well. I went to the cinema with my dad yesterday, and we went to go and see Disclosure Day, the new movie from Steven Spielberg. And yeah, I don't think it's controversial to say that Steven Spielberg is probably the most celebrated filmmaker of all time. I mean, let's be honest. Throughout your childhood, you would have seen at least one Steven Spielberg movie. I mean, this guy gave us Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List, Hook, very underrated movie. He's just done everything. Even some of his later movies, like Ready Player One, I really enjoyed. I never saw the BFG. I heard people were a bit on that one, but still, he is got to be the most prolific filmmaker out there. And every time his name is on a movie, it's ooh, new Spielberg movie. Let's go. So I'd heard bits and pieces about this movie when it started to come out, and the overall hype was, yeah, Spielberg. And not only Spielberg, he's going back to a genre that he's very familiar with, sci-fi, because as I said, Close Encounters, E.T., and also War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise. So everyone was like, yes, new Spielberg sci-fi movie, let's go. And then when the film came out and reviews started to come out, everyone seemed to be very not completely down it, but the reviews seemed to range from lukewarm of it's not his best, but it's still all right, all the way down to this is Spielberg's worst movie. And I was like, really? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's because of that expectation. If it's a Steven Spielberg movie, you want it to be amazing. You want it to be the best thing of the year. But hey, so I went to go and see it with my dad, who, I mean, he loves anything to do with extraterrestrials and aliens and sci-fi and all that. So yeah, we went to go and see it yesterday, and here are my thoughts. So how do I sum up this film in one sentence? I can't really. Basically, you have Josh O'Connor's character who has proof that extraterrestrials are real, and then you have Colin Firth and his organisation who are trying to stop him from releasing the information because they don't think the public can handle the truth. Jack Nicholson reference. But on the other side, you also have Emily Blunt and her character, and she starts having all these weird psychic abilities, and this film starts off with a lot of questions, but as the film goes on, they start to answer more and more questions, and you start to understand. They don't answer everything, but you start to understand it a little bit better. So let's get into what I liked about this movie. So, firstly, it's a Spielberg movie, and Spielberg still has the magic touch for me anyway. I mean, if you hadn't have told me who directed this movie, I would have sat there and about an hour or so and I would have gone, this kind of feels like a Spielberg movie. So you can easily tell that it's his hands on this movie. So anything with Spielberg, he's definitely still got the magic touch. I don't think he's lost it. I wouldn't say it's his best, sci-fi movie. Again, I'm not spoiling my rating or anything, but yeah, it's a good Spielberg movie. So yeah. Emily Blunt. You cannot get me to dislike this woman. She is a phenomenal actress. And yes, I'm not blowing smoke up her ass when I say I honestly think that she should get an Oscar nomination for this. She is sort of like your emotional tie to this movie. She's the character you sort of latch onto. You've got Josh O'Connor over here, with the proof that the aliens exist, and he's sort of like the one you want to get away from all the government people. But Emily Blunt is the one you latch onto the most, because I think she feels the most real, and she's the one who gets to express the most. And she's the one who has sort of like the emotional breakdowns of, oh my God, what am I doing? What am I doing? I can't deal with this, So yeah, she is phenomenal in this movie. And again, when, she sort of starts to get tied with Josh O'Connor as the film goes on. So yeah, I mean, those two are really good together. Even though they don't have that much screen time together, well, they do sort of like in the back half of the film, but the first half, they're very much separate. So yeah, she was phenomenal, and he was good as well. So yeah. You will probably not be surprised to learn that it being a Spielberg movie, it is scored by none other than John Williams. And again, he's got to be the most celebrated film composer of all time. Because again, he worked with him. He did Jurassic Park. He did, E.T. This was the guy who did fucking Star Wars, This guy who's just given us so many iconic themes. This one is a lot more subtle. It's not quite as memorable, but when those notes hit, you do kind of go, oh, yeah, it's a John Williams score. Again, it's not something like Jurassic Park, which dun 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 dun, it's nothing like that. But it works for what the film needs it to be. So, yeah, love John Williams. I mean, the dude's like in his 90s and he's still cranking out tunes with Spielberg. I mean, fucking absolute respect to the dude. Here's something that I do like, where a lot of people seem to falter a little bit. I actually thought this film kept a good pace. I mean, this film is like 2 hours and 25 minutes. And I heard so many people saying, oh God, this film is so slow and the pacing is off and this film is too long. It should have been cut down. I was like, I don't have a problem with this. I mean, because I went into that thinking, oh God, is this film going to be boring? I was never bored during this film. It keeps a really good clip. There's always something moving. I mean, from the very start of the film, where Josh O'Connor's like, literally, I've got the proof, you're not going to fucking stop me. And they're like, yes, we are. And then from that moment on, bang, you're in this movie. And you're basically, it just kind of keeps going. Yes, there's some down moments for some, character moments. But there's never a point where you kind of go, come on, hurry up. You never have that. So I was a bit surprised when I kind of came out and went, it wasn't slow. It wasn't too long. What are you guys on about? Anyway. That's just me. Okay, so that's what I really liked. Where am I a bit mixed, in like the mixed area? I think Colin Firth as the villain was fine. I think he was a bit one note, and they sort of kind of tried to give him a bit more depth. They sort of like bring up a thing very briefly about his wife, which I kind of wish they got into a bit more, because that kind of gives him a bit more of a rounded character arc. But hey, that's just, they didn't go into it that much. And also, it wasn't like, oh yes, this character could only be played by Colin Firth. He really brought something special to it. I kind of feel like his character could have been played by anyone. You could stick anyone in there. It didn't need to be Colin Firth. I mean, I'm pleased it was Colin Firth, but I was like, it doesn't feel like a Colin Firth specific character. Do you know what I mean? Anyway. Common Domingo is in this, and he's sort of, most of the film, he's the guy on the other end of the phone who's talking to Josh O'Connor and kind of saying, yeah, you've got, this woman, Emily Blunt's character's like, yeah, she's part of this now. You need to meet up with her because she knows things as well. Da, da, da. And you kind of feel like he's just the guy on the other end of the phone. And even though I love Common Domingo as an actor, I do kind of feel like his character sort of kept at bay. He's just the guy who's meant to feed the other characters information of, yes, they're coming after you, and yes, we're going to do this, we've got to do this now, and this is what's going to happen. And you're like, how do you know all this shit? Anyway, that doesn't matter. So yeah, I just felt like we could have gone into his character a bit more, and what was his sort of motivation for getting this information out, so to speak. They do actually touch a little bit on the topic of religion, which I thought was quite interesting. The reason it's in the mix is because I wish they'd gone into it a little bit more. Or maybe they didn't feel like they had to go into it a bit more. Because the second they brought up religion, I thought, oh God, this is going to be one of those things where it bashes religion and these people go, no, there is only one God, there is only one superior being, and that's, But they didn't actually do that. They actually kept it quite open-minded of like, well, it doesn't say that we're the only beings in the universe. It says we're the only superior beings on Earth, but it doesn't say anything about the rest of the universe. And they quite like that. But I just kind of wish they'd gone into it a bit more, because it's this idea of like, if you found out about extraterrestrial life, would that completely shatter your belief system? Would that shatter your belief in a God? And some people it might, some people it might not. But yeah, I just wish they'd gone into that just a little bit more. What didn't I like about this film? Let's go into the negatives. I just thought some of the CGI was a little bit wonky, which I do kind of find a bit, that does seem a bit more apparent now with like big movies. But then again, that's sort of like with, I mean, you look at something like The Flash, that CGI was terrible. But then again, I look at something like a Spielberg movie and I think, come on, guys, you can put in a bit more effort. This is fucking Spielberg we're talking about. Anyway, so yeah, you had that. And, now this is interesting. So, whenever I'm planning to go and see a review, that doesn't make any sense. Whenever I plan to go and see a movie, I don't tend to watch movie reviews beforehand about that movie before I've actually seen it. So I remember going to see the film and I hadn't watched any reviews from anyone. And I remember sitting there and this whole thing about, we have proof of aliens and aliens exist and we're going to release the truth and how will the public deal with it? And I remember sitting there and the whole time I'm thinking to myself, this kind of feels like it should have been like a 90s blockbuster or a 2000s movie, something where I feel like one of the biggest things that held it back was the fact that it was released today in 2026. Whereas if it had been released, way back when, that would have been, I think it would have just had a bit more impact. Because nowadays, everyone's like, oh, aliens exist. Okay. Do you remember back when the government basically told us that aliens were real and no one seemed to give a shit, But it's interesting I thought that because I came away from that movie and I looked on movie reviews, see what other people, and one of the guys who I follow, Cody Leach, love him, go and see his channel, he actually made a point saying, this movie should have been released 20 years ago. And I went, oh my God, I thought that as well. That's so weird. But yeah, I stand by that. I honestly think that the one thing that holds this movie back is the fact that it's been released today. Whereas if you released it back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think it could have had so much more impact and it wouldn't be as divisive as it has been since it came out. I think people would look at this movie a lot more fondly and go, yeah, that was a cool late 90s, early 2000s blockbuster. And I think it would have had a lot more impact. But yeah, overall, guys, I thought it was a good Spielberg movie. I wouldn't put it up there as one of my favourites. I would say that it's probably in sort of the middle tier. It's not like one of his... people saying it's one of his worst movies. I'm like, calm the fuck down, People seem to think that because it's Spielberg, it has to be the best film of the year. Otherwise, if it's anything less than the best film of the year, it's a crushing disappointment and it's shit. I was like, no, I enjoyed this movie. What rating should I give it? I don't know if I go so far as to add it to my collection, really. I would say make it a flick with friends. I'd say go and see it on the biggest screen possible. Go and see it in IMAX, because I honestly think this film is worthy of seeing in IMAX. So yeah, I'd say if you're a fan of Spielberg, give it a go. If you're a fan of sci-fi movies, specifically sci-fi movies, give it a go. You might be in one camp. You might go, yeah, absolutely love it. It's one of Spielberg's classics. Or you might turn around and go, actually, this is a bit blasé. We've kind of done this all before, but hey. Okay, guys, so that's my review of Disclosure Day. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, give us a like, share around, and if you got any movie reviews that you would like me to do personally, could be anything, just let me know down in the comments. Oh, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. Thank you, guys.